Thank you. So that was fantastic. And I'm remembering we're waiting for questions in the chat, but one of the things that I love that you talked about, and I've put some hashtags in the chat as well, is surprise and delight. I remember many different occasions where I bought stuff, and it could be through Amazon, right? Or it could be through a new vendor that you're not even sure if you're gonna like their item, but you get the handwritten note, right? Or, they put like a lollipop in the box, right? Something that just says we're taking that extra step of not rinse and repeat. We're making you feel like you are important to us. And I will, unless the product is super terrible, I will be shopping again, right? So I just love that.
Yeah.
Can you think of any other potential ways in which we could think about surprising and delighting our customers, potential customers, or different ways in which we can, and we have some we have some questions coming in, or ways in which we can stand out a little bit more?
Yeah, so I'll give you a couple examples. So one of our other, so In Town Golf Club is a company that came out of our studio. And one thing that they do for surprise and delight is they know, okay, so when someone signs up for a session, it's like an indoor golf simulator. When someone signs up, their clubs are at the bay. They know that the customer drinks coffee. So there's already a coffee there whenever you show up, right? Because you feel trustworthy, you feel like, so they go above and beyond. And sometimes if they're having like, a little bit about their user profile. So they like gummy bears, let's say. There might just be a little treat there that they know they like already, right? So that's one example where when you get to know your customer, and I mean, gummy bears are $2, but now you're like, well, I'm coming back next week and the week after, because it's this little thing, right? It's a small investment, even if it's just a handwritten card, that makes your customer feel like they are cared for, right? So that's one example. I'll give you another with Greensy is another one of our portfolio companies. So Greensy, this usually happens around the holidays, right? But they made custom Yeti mugs for all of their customers and send that out as a gift. And they're nice, right? Like it's cold, they're out. So Greensy is an autonomous robotic lawnmower, and their customers are out in the cold, they're either snow blowing or it's freezing and you're still mowing lawns. And so it was like, oh, hey, we're thinking of you. We have this. And again, a Yeti is a nice brand. That's another opportunity for partnership. And they surprise and delight them, right? Send them to it's a great gift. People feel loved, they feel cared for, and like you're thinking of them.
Thank you so much. That is fantastic. Now we have two questions in the chat. So I'm going to ask one first and then have you answer, then ask the other one. So the question is content creation the only way to gain customers? And the person is asking because they don't think they're very good at making content.
Great. No, it's not the only way. I mean, think about it. So networking, you don't have anything with you, right? It's just your words. It's just your voice, your demeanor, right? That's one way. Partnerships is another way. Like I said, you don't have to have a blog. It's hard to not get customers if you don't have a website. So I would say a website's a very helpful way, unless you're selling a physical product at like a fair. But even then you would have maybe a sign or some verbiage that talks about that. But so I say like a website's very helpful, but you don't have to be putting content out on blogs and social. It's just one way. And what I've found is interns are great, right? Like you guys are obviously most in school, maybe looking for internships, but as soon as you start building your company, find interns that are good at it, right? Especially because it's an affordable way to, you're going to pay for people who are in the market, know what they're doing, right? Because these are interns hopefully in say a marketing field or a design field that do the actual content, and you don't have to. So an example is like, I'm not great at videos. I enjoy them, sure, but I have a team that creates them for me, and they they're way better at it. They're creative. They know how to work TikTok. I feel like I'm an 80-year-old person using TikTok, right? But they're like, yep, done. So I will encourage you that if you're not good at content creation, there's others in your network that might be. Ask for help or pay. Again, when you think of like affordability, you're like, I can't pay anyone. Well, trade services. What are you good at? Do that for them. If you're great at crunching numbers, crunch their numbers and have them help you create content. Done.
I love that. That's fantastic. The second question that we have, and this is specific to a particular market. And so how do you gain customers in a saturated environment? And this person is talking about, I think they're doing candles and they think of their competitor as Bath and Body Works.
Okay, great. There's lots of ways. So initially, right, you want to really make sure like what's your differentiator, right? Like, of course, there's always competition. If people say there's no competition in their market, they probably are lying because there always is. And that means it's a good thing, right? That means people have a desire for this product and you're on the right track. So that's great. Things that I like to say are, what's your differentiator? Are you natural candles? Are you more affordable candles? Are you better smelling candles? What's your differentiator and then capitalize on that? So I don't know anything about the market, but let's say you have the best soy candle in the market, right? So you want to be talking to people that are in the soy channels, right? So is there Facebook groups that are focused on natural? Are there moms out there who don't want to have toxic fumes around their babies? Is there a community that is driven by source of, making sure it's sustainable and that there's a repeatable, recyclable methods, right? So my encouragement is figure out what your differentiator is and go where those people would be. Right. So if you haven't figured that out yet, maybe you're feeling stuck because you're like, well, I don't have anything that differentiates me. There is something, and that's what you have to surface and then be where those people are to sell to them. I could probably speak more if there's a more follow-up to that, but that's where I'll start.
And for a person who asks, if you do have a follow-up, just again, put in the chat and we'll make sure that we ask Jacey. And so we have another question.
Okay.
And so Ari, do you want me to ask that? I'll go ahead and ask it. So is there a certain way to go about networking? What I try to do is always be professional, but get to know what someone wants, somewhat in my field has going on, what they have in the field going on. So a personal approach. Should I push my business mainly and focus on working later? I don't know if that question is it clear, Jacey?
Yeah.
Okay.
So great question. First of all, love that you are already out there networking. I'm like, you're on the right track, right? So here's what I say. I like to ask questions, right? Like I do like to know what people are doing. And it sounds like that's what I try to get to know them. People love to talk about themselves. Okay. My hope when we're networking is that other people reciprocate that. But if they don't, right, you can say, well, and again, it depends on the initiative. Are you trying to sell at this networking? Are you trying to find a coworker, right? So it depends on the vision of what you are wanting to be doing. But one thing I always say is at pitch practice, I say pitchers be pitching always. Okay. So there is always a goal to my networking, even if it's just, I want to meet cool people. I want to hear cool stories. I want to sell, right? So my first thought is, what is the intention of your networking? Set that, right? So if you're there to meet people, great. If you're there to pitch your business, well, get ready, pitch your business, right? So I think that it depends on the intention of what you're trying to do. So when you say, should I push my business or focus on working together? What's the intention? If you're trying to sell, ask questions. I think that's great. And then say, well, if you have a second, could I tell you a little bit about what I'm working on? Because we'd hope that they'd ask, but we can't guarantee. So if they haven't, if they're just yapping about themselves, which happens, and they don't offer, you can say, well, could I tell you a little bit about what I'm working on? And the vision would be, how can you relate it to what they were saying? So let's say you're selling candles and these people are talking about how they're really stressed. Okay. And they're just yammering on, you never know. You can say, oh, great. Well, if you don't mind, can I tell you a little bit about what we're working on? I'm building this candle company and it actually helps to reduce stress. Right. And then that's why you have your pitch ready. So if you need a pitch practice, Fridays, 1:00, subtle plug. But
which is free. You pay for
it's
food.
free,
Yeah,
right? We're
for the
on the
pitch,
MARTA
it's free.
station. Like literally, there's no reason you couldn't come up. Anywho, so having your pitch, 30-second pitch, right? Like, oh, my name's Ari. I'm selling stress relief candles. And our goal is to transform the way people operate out of stress. Whatever that is, you'll work on that pitch. And then the vision will be, oh, well, tell me more. Oh, can I follow? We're actually on social. We're looking for beta testers. We're offering free candles to the first 20 that come, right? Again, you need to set the attention for what the networking purpose is. Like if you're going there to get customers, then absolutely you should sell. But you want to also have a build rapport, and you're already doing it, building profession, being professional, asking good questions. That's important as well.
Fantastic.
Okay, that was very
Okay.
helpful.
Great.
Any other questions? If you do have a question, feel free to either throw your hands up or unmute yourself. I will watch for anyone who unmutes. And it's now Jacey, am I correct in this? Is it an open session now, or do you have any?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're ready.
perfect.
I'm ready. Thank you. I appreciate you all listening. I can stop sharing my screen if you want, and we can just chat.
So yeah, let's go ahead and stop sharing,
Yeah,
and
let me do
then
that.
we can see your face a little bit better.
Yes.
So yes.
Yes, I'm here for any thoughts, any questions that I didn't ask. I don't know if there was a follow-up or anything from.
So the person that asked the questions about the candles actually thought what you said worked fantastic for what they were asking. So no follow-up there. So
Okay.
again, you can feel free to unmute yourself. And also I will keep a watch out for anyone who's unmuted themselves. So Jacey, so for someone who is a little bit beyond the idea stage, right? So they have the idea, they're kind of working through what does that look like. And thank you so much. We just got a question popped in the chat. And I'm talking so that you can also keep thinking for those of you who are on the call. And so what's the next step do you think they should be thinking about? Their kind of customer discovery stage. What's the next step? That they can go right on and go like, from this conversation, I'm going to do this next.
Great question. So this is an assumption that you have talked to all your customers and you know what they want and you are ready to build, right? And I know AT talked probably a little bit about that last time when he was saying, you don't just need to go out and build a crazy product, a $200,000 product, right? So what I say, especially if you want to actually see if customers are going to pay for it, right? That's really the ticker. Are people going to pay for it? Is I encourage put up a landing page, right? Obviously, that would include like have a little bit of a brand, right? Have a logo, kind of think through what that messaging looks like. And what you do is you take that from all your customer calls. So let's say in all of your customer discovery, you kept hearing, I'm so tired. I just want to come home and relax. And I'm so stressed, right? So this is the candle example, right? So if you kept hearing that, and I was like, oh, I just need something fresh, right? So then you turn around and take some of that customer discovery insight and verbiage, and on your website, you said, are you stressed? Need something fresh? We've got candles for you, right? So you've done the customer discovery. They told you what their problem is, right? So an example for Greensy is they kept hearing, so funny, I can't find the people to do the work. I can't find the people to do the work. I'm stressed. I can't find the people to do the work. And what now they say is, don't add people to work, add this. We know that you can't find the people to do the work. So we created this it's not a lawnmower. It's you attach it to a lawnmower, right? It's a robotic worker to attach to your lawnmower. So you don't have to have more people to work, right? So you take your customer discovery, use the verbiage that you heard in that questioning and all that research, and then you put it on your website, right? And then I often say, so part of AT, probably talked about this a little bit when you're talking about product, making a product. I always think, what is the most minimal viable product, MVP? What is the easiest thing I can do to create? So let's say if the example is candles, right? Maybe you don't have to get all the money and do all the things to make the candles, but you could put up a listserv and say, we're shipping soon, and you can crowd fund it, right? So pre-order. If you know your cost of a candle is $2 and you sell them for 10, great. Get that money in. You could pre-sell those candles and get enough money in to make it, and then you have backfill to then sell the future, right? So this is like thinking an online store. If you're thinking about, let's say a product that you made is, I want to make time tracking easier, right? So on the front end, you might have this landing page. You've talked about, oh, time tracking is so hard. So maybe you build a low code product. So this is like a Glide app is a great tool for this. And on the back end, it just connects to Excel sheets and you're crunching the numbers, but you produce it in a beautiful way and see if people will pay $5 a month, right? You set up a PayPal. You can take funds from a PayPal. You might have to create a company and maybe have a bank account if you're going to be actually receiving money. But it's a good test, and you could also do it in your personal account before you start the business to prove that people will pay for it. That was a long-winded answer for that.
No, I love it. I love it. So two things that I see in the chat. We do have a question tied to networking that I'm going to ask in a second, but I want to follow up on a point that was made in terms of the comment is pre-sales kind of hurt the business, but I guess I'm going to ask in a question, how can you successfully use pre-sales? I guess would be my follow-up question.
Sure. Well, again, this is, in reference to, you said, how do you start, right? So if you're already thriving and you're already going, maybe pre-sales aren't for you. This is to jumpstart it. So if you don't have any capital on hand, right? So you have no money. And so how are you going to build a product to sell? Right. So that's kind of where I would say pre-sales is a prequel. And of course, I think I pulled up the chat too, since COVID shipping is so slow, right? Well, here's the thing. Put it on apologize. Say, hey, listen, bear with us. Shipping takes some time. We're here for you. Be on this journey with us, right? So put it in your marketing. A lot of times, you'll go to a restaurant right now and there's signs that say, hey, our staff is behind, bear with us, right? That's part of that thing. We're being transparent. So, hey, we know, right? We're in pre-sales mode. This is our beta batch. I'm not saying you always need to do it, but that's how to get started and then start generating a little bit of revenue, and just be honest and upfront with your customers and say, hey, we get shipping is hard. We're all in this together. Bear with us. And, maybe send an extra sticker in the mail for a surprise and delight. Like it says, thanks for waiting. Now relax in your stress releasing. And again, I keep making this stress candle thing up, but you figure out what that looks like. Yeah. So that's what I would say to that.
Thank you. And I think I wanted to also add that there's a difference between pre-sales and line, right? And so, for example, in the candle business, you're able to source all the ingredients you need, whether it's the glass or, the wax or whatever it is. So it's doable. You just need the funds in to actually build what you're doing.
Right.
That's different than saying, for example, I'm going to have the software, for example, that is going to do all these 15 different things, and you haven't even tested it. You haven't worked it. You haven't even written a code, right? That's lying, right? And so there's a difference, and one is negative and actually illegal. And the other one is you're getting that fund in to build that thing. So I think what Jacey is saying is highlighting where you're able to have all the ingredients, you know how to make the thing, you're just waiting on the source of income to come in to actually push that out, as opposed to fabricating something that is actually a federal crime.
Right.
Okay. Um, Thank you.
Now, I will say, again, I'm not advocating for lying. However, when I say there is a way to build an MVP where you don't have to code 1,000 things, right? Like you can still produce the work, AKA in that example of time tracking, right? So your vision is to create a time tracking app, but you haven't created the app, but you're doing it by hand, right? And again, you're still serving the product, you're still selling something people to see if people will pay. And you might not tell them how they made it. You could say, hey, you put your code, you subscribe here, you get this, right? They don't have to know that you're doing it by hand or that you're crunching the numbers in the background, or it's maybe your professional services right now, because you're still providing them with a service and you want to see if they'll pay for it, right? So Risha, you're correct in that we don't want to be misleading, but there's ways to test things by hand before you spend $1 million on an app. I'll say that.
Perfect, thank you. So we're gonna ask, I saw a question. The question that was asked is, how do you not be scared to talk to people when networking? Great
question. Right. So the more you do it, the less scared you'll be. I'm like, once you wrap your head around it, it's easier. So the more you go, the more you push your limits, I think the easier it is. The other thing is bring a friend. It's so much nicer to wingwoman it, right? Like it's much easier to go with someone to kind of tag team. Now, don't get caught up just talking to them, right? So I'll challenge you on that. But if you have someone to go to an event with, right? So let's say you've got this class, you've got like entrepreneurship, like grab someone, even if you don't know them, at least it's know them well. That maybe they're not your bestie, but go with someone. Another thing is, I told you this, people love to talk about themselves. So just ask questions, right? If you're not ready to share a bunch about who you are, just ask questions. And I'll tell you right now, everyone is usually in the same boat. Right? Usually everyone there is like, let's say I need to sell, or I have this, I need to meet more people, but I'm a little uncomfortable. Great. You're both probably in the same boat, right? So just go and introduce yourself. They're probably just as nervous as you are, but you kind of calm down the more you do it.
Thank you so much. I think one time I heard, which I love it, if you're like an introvert and this is hard for you, then set the goal before you walk in, right? So the goal may be that I'm going to talk to one person at this event. That's it. I'm just going to talk to one person. You walk in, you hit your milestone, and you may leave afterwards, or you may then feel comfortable because you've done the one thing. But don't necessarily, if you're really scared about it, don't go in and like, I'm going to have to talk to like 10, 15, 20 people for it to be effective. Just pick that one goal that you mentally can do and tick that off, and then see how you feel afterwards. If you're able to power through and do another one, right? And you may say, I've done one, I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to leave, right? And so see how that goes, but put on your training wheels first. Does that make sense, Jacey?
Yeah, that's it. That's true. Like it's always like, what's the goal? What's the vision? What's the intention for there? Why are you there? Get it ahead of time. And here's the thing, you can say, okay, I reached my goal, I'm going to head out. Or you like, I reached my goal, maybe I'll talk to one more, right? Maybe you're a little bit more comfortable, but like setting that ahead of time, right? That's why you set SMART goals. That's why you set strategy. That's why you do it. That's why you figured out at the beginning, because then it keeps you on track, even if it's just for 30 minutes of networking.
Fantastic. I love it. I have a question for everyone that's in the audience, not for Jacey this time around, but if you're in or you're listening, could you put a 1 in the chat if you're a Launch GSU member? And so we want to know how many persons are on the call who's a member of Launch GSU, which is our 24-hour incubator space. And then another thing, Jacey's this is just so invaluable and we love it. But we also know that some of you may have questions that are tied to your company, your business, your idea. And so I put in the February coaching hours. And so bear with me. So you get to hang with me a little bit on one-on-one. And so there's a link in the chat. So you can go ahead and click that and set up a time for us to actually talk. And so FYI to that, just to give you a heads up. So we're seeing if there are any other questions for JC. So we're going to give it another minute or so. But while you're thinking about it, sorry?
From Ari, did we get that one?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah, I was gonna also schedule a meeting with Miss Reed. But for you, I want to like first give you a little exposition, but not too much. I'm running a production company called Ari Bradley Studios. So we do photography and video services around Georgia State. We are a Launch GSU business, but right now I'm at like the ground stage. Like everything for my company is built, everything is started, my site is up, it's really ready to go. And so right now I'm trying to figure out, when I put myself out there, how do I establish myself as a respectable brand? Because I do operate as a sole proprietorship. I run everything, and this is going to be my face, my presentation. So when I approach people, mainly the actors and the business students, I don't want to be like, some guy off the street, like, okay, come to my studio, take some pictures. I take it very seriously because I'm trying to serve them and I'm trying to help them. So with that, would you say, I mean, do I need to wear a suit? I mean, is it more so a case by case thing? I mean, just what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah, great question. So I think, again, Ari, I think you're on the right track either way. Like, I'm like, you're going to do great. So here's what I would say. Be you, right? Like, you said you've already got a brand, right? So if your brand is Ari Bradley, I assume that's you. So own it and be the brand. I do think a logo helps, right? So if I assume you've got some design, right?
Yeah.
It could say Ari Bradley Studio, and maybe you hire some things and you could say we, right? And sometimes you can say we in the third person anyway, like, hey, we're here to serve you. We offer these services, right? And like, if you have swag always helps because it's your brand, right? So if you got a shirt or you've got like a polo, or I know some brands, they might have a hoodie or they might have something that's like on brand for them, right? Doesn't have to be a suit, but people will know you're legit. And here's the thing, you can get a shirt printed for like $20, maybe 30, really nice. Okay. So if you have one or two and you wear that all the time, I'm not saying you wear it all the time, but that's an easy way to sell yourself. I also think, business cards help, or there's they're digital business cards, right? You can do like, oh, hey, like, well, if you want to connect, here's my social, or you can just tap the phones, etc. There's a lot of those out there. But when you have those things set up, it makes you look more official, right? So let's say you ran into me at a networking event and you said, here's my pitch, right? Like, oh, I run a studio. We do photography and video for X, Y, and Z, right? So maybe it's for students, for actors, and for startup leaders. Let's say, you might have, again, you'll work on your pitch, and you could then say, are you in the market, or is anyone looking? Feel free to connect. Right. And here's what you do. You do the tap, right? And it automatically has your logo. It has your website. It has your email. It has everything already. So they could follow you seamlessly because you've set up a process that makes it convenient for them to talk to you. Or you say, would love to connect and continue the conversation, because a lot of people don't actually follow up. So it's sometimes nice to grab their content and you say, would it be fine to connect or schedule some time with you to chat more about like your next headshot session or something.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I like that. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you. You're going to do great.
Thank you.
So anyone else with questions? And again, you can unmute yourself and ask your question to JC. Helena asked about the recording. So again, we'll have this recording available to you. And so we're working to send this out within the next 2 weeks. but we're gonna actually try and get you the slides from Jacey a little bit earlier so that you can utilize that information. So hopefully we can push that out by end of next week. That's our goal at the moment, to try and get these out so that you have something to work with and it will be fresh in your mind from the conversation today. I'm gonna see if there are any other questions. Okay, so Jacey, I want to thank you so much for hanging with us today. Your feedback, your information, your insight, your tips and tricks and all of that, valuable, invaluable, really. And so we thank you so much. I'm going to ask everyone to either put a 1 in the chat to say thanks, or just simply put a thank you in the chat. We have Denise, our marketing manager, is also putting in the fact that you can check out our E&I website and blog for additional coverage on today's event with Jacey. And so keep that in mind. We see some thank yous coming in. Again, tomorrow at what time, Jacey, for a pitch?
1 p.m. every Friday, unless I tweet that we don't have it.
And so that is in Buckhead, right off 400, the exit number 2. And so, and I've been to these. Honestly, I've been just to listen. And the information that I've gained from listening has been invaluable. And so when you're thinking about, oh, I'm scared at the moment, or I'm just working on my idea, I don't feel comfortable, just being around all these entrepreneurs, hearing how they pitch, the feedback they get is also priceless. And so promoting Jacey's event tomorrow. So if you do have that time tomorrow, jump on over to ATV in Buckhead, right off 400 at exit 2, and it's pretty much the first turn. And you can park and find out a little bit more. And there's also lunch you can purchase as well. And so if you're there, go eat and then listen.
Yeah, startup chow down happens at 12 that you can sign up for. You can see it's on Eventbrite or on the Atlanta Tech Village. You can sign up for startup chow down at 12. And then, I think it costs $10 for that lunch. And then you can then sign up for pitch practice at 1, and that's free almost every Friday. And you can check out pitchpractice.co to learn more.
Perfect. And that's in the chat as well. So thank you so much for being here. We're going to sign off now. And yeah, we'll send you the slides from Jacey, and we will send you the video as soon as we get finished with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.